Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Thomas. Today we're off to the kill count, and I hope you guys are rosary raised and said your prayers, because we're checking out The Exorcist from 1973. So, yeah, this is basically the possession movie y'all know and fear. Yeah. It's gonna be gross, it's gonna be yikes. That's all I'm gonna say. So, let's take a look back at, well, the demonic possession that shocked the world. Be sure to like, subscribe for more, hope you enjoy. Let's check it out.
Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims
James.
in all our favorite horror movies
Hello,
and
Father
show you how
James.
they were made. I'm James A. Janice, and today we're looking at The Exorcist, released in 1973. The Exorcist follows a young girl who gets possessed by a demon and the two priests who try to free her with an exorcism. But why the fuck am I telling you this? Absolutely everyone watching this video is familiar with The Exorcist. It's The Exorcist, the motherfreaking Exorcist. It's hard to get more famous than this. The Exorcist began as a novel by William Peter Blatty, who adapted it himself into a screenplay. William Friedkin took up director duties and devoted himself to the film to the point of injuring his actors. But hey, at least he seems satisfied with the final product.
Honestly feel it is as close to a perfect film as you can make.
Like most successful horror films, The Exorcist would spawn a franchise, including Part 2 The Heretic, often included on lists of worst movies ever made, The Exorcist 3, a sort of crime film that some people think is just as good as the original, two prequels made at the same time, The Beginning and Dominion, neither of which I've ever seen before, and last year's Exorcist Believer, which was supposed to kick off a new trilogy, but we'll see about that. Right now, I'm only going to look at the first three films. I don't think many people care about the prequels, and honestly, I'd like to move on to more fun stuff. By now, you probably know that I like to like things, so it might be strange to hear that I'm not really a huge fan of The Exorcist. I guess this is my hot take, my Flynn in a Sea of Swords, my Family Guy Godfather scene. I just don't love The Exorcist, even though I love plenty about it. I love its compositions, its acting, and of course its incredible theme Tubular Bells by British musician Mike Oldfield. Love me some prog rock. I also think the movie gets way better in its second half, and when the horror gets going, it really gets going. I won't deny that. But a lot of the earlier scenes feel awkward to me in terms of acting and editing. Like, they end so abruptly.
They're close.
It's just kind of weird, you know?
Yeah, I know.
But maybe I'm just an idiot because this was literally nominated for Best Editing at the Oscars. In fact, The Exorcist was nominated for 10 Academy Awards, including the big one, Best Picture, though it lost to The Sting. And of course, it's beloved by many, often topping lists of best or scariest horror films ever made. So don't worry, I know that I'm the weird one here, and I'm not gonna spend this whole video bashing it or anything. This is still a stone cold classic, and I can respect it even if it doesn't personally resonate with me, despite being raised Catholic and going to Catholic school for 5 whole years. Will an all-time classic horror film give us...
It's
It's the Scarewood. It's trying to tell me something about today's sponsor, Raycon.
Raycon again?
I see Editor Bree trying to work, but she can't with all that construction noise. If only she had Raycon earbuds. With noise isolation and awareness modes that you can switch through with just a tap, they're perfect for shutting out the noise around you. Now where am I? Oh, it's researcher Bella. Looks like she's trying to figure out a Mother's Day present. Someone needs to tell her that Raycons are the perfect gift for moms. After all, with 8 hours of playtime and 32 hours of battery life in the case, mom can kick back and relax with music, audiobooks, or podcasts all day. And I would know. My Raycons are part of my daily life. I use them when I'm working out in the gym, taking Molly out for a walk, or drowning out the encroaching darkness of existence. I mean, when I'm relaxing. You don't need the Scarewood to see if Raycons are right for you. Just click the link in the description or go to buyraycon.com/deadmeat to check them out and get 20% off your purchase plus free shipping. Will an all-time classic horror film give us all-time classic kills? Let's find out and get to them.
Here we go. Time for the class.
The movie begins in northern Iraq. Amidst this city of dugouts, a kid frickin' parkours his way to a priest. That something is a dirty demon sculpture. Priest and paleontologist Lancaster Marin knows a bad omen when he plunders one. And this one scares him so bad, he goes dipping into a snuff box of pills. Pills are good, father. Pills are good. I used to hate the beginning of this movie for being boring, but now I love how measured and real it feels. I mean, yeah, it's mostly just an old guy walking around town, but it's a great look at a culture people wouldn't have been very familiar with. They filmed in and around Mosul, Iraq, with the dig itself filmed in Hatra, an ancient city that was later designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Shooting in Iraq proved difficult due to its extreme heat and the political situation. They were shooting in the same area Colonel Nazem Khazar was hiding in after plotting an assassination on President al-Bakr. Now that he's all peeled up, Marin returns to the dig site and sees a much larger statue of the sculpture he excavated. Although the movie doesn't officially name the entity, the book and sequels identify it as Pazuzu, a Mesopotamian spirit slash recurring icon for gorillas. Pazuzu's powers are kinda nebulous, sometimes clock stopping, sometimes dog riling, and sometimes causing carriage mishaps? I don't know. 10 minutes in, we move to Georgetown, outside Washington, D.C., where Chris McNeil is living with her 12-year-old daughter Reagan. Chris is an actress, like a successful one. She's got a house staff and shit. They're so rich their pastimes are horse riding and horse quizzing.
Mayor, gelding, what?
I think it was a gelding.
Chris is so famous, friggin' Nixon is inviting her over for dinner.
So you got an invitation. What's this? Dinner at the White House.
I bet part of the blacked out Nixon tapes was him saying, "Your mother sucks cocks in hell." The character of Chris McNeil was inspired by and written for William Peter Blatty's next door neighbor, Shirley MacLaine. She turned the role down, and it wound up going to Ellen Burstyn, who Blatty liked from The Last Picture Show. Blatty was a comedy writer, but when that genre dried up, he wrote about an exorcism he had heard of as a junior at Georgetown University. It involved a 14-year-old boy from a Maryland suburb who, in 1949, apparently caused poltergeist activity and had mysterious welts and branding appear on his skin. To heal him, he underwent a 3-month-long exorcism. For the film adaptation of his novel, Blatty wanted an agnostic director who wouldn't be biased towards either religious belief or skepticism. He chose William Friedkin because he liked The French Connection, though Friedkin wasn't a fan of his initial screenplay.
And I took it home and eagerly read through it, and I thought it was not very good. I thought it was overwrought. I thought that it was filled with a lot of symbolism and underlined, and it wasn't the novel.
On set, Chris notices a local priest. It's okay if you didn't, though. This is an awful introductory shot for a character. My eye keeps going to this dude, not the guy who's dimly lit and, like, tucking out of the frame. This is Father Damien Karras. Wait, where'd he go?
There he is, there he is.
A psychiatrist Jesuit who lately has been experiencing some extreme Catholic guilt, also known as standard Catholic guilt.
I think I've lost my faith.
He might be having a crisis of faith because working for the Lord pays like shit. I mean, his mom is stuck living in a neighborhood where child gangs destroy cars like a Street Fighter bonus stage. What's worse is that she's sick, but doesn't want to be moved to a home, especially not one he can afford.
This is my house, and I'm not going no place.
I love this lady, and her cute little nickname for Karras. Eventually, she has an accident that lands her in a crappy hospital where, hey, at least it looks like Dimmy is popular with the ladies. Just kidding, this sucks. Things are really rocky for this guy. Father Karras is played by Jason Miller, a stage actor and Pulitzer-winning playwright in his first screen role. As a Jesuit dropout, he brought an authenticity to the role that got him nominated for Best Supporting Actor at the Oscars. The first sign of trouble at the McNeil house is when Reagan introduces her mom to the strange man who lives in their Ouija board.
Captain Howdy, do you think my mom's pretty? Captain Howdy? Captain Howdy, that isn't very nice.
Wow, he's not only a demon, but a real asshole too. Prior to The Exorcist, Linda Blair was a working child actor and model in New York. While some child actors weren't allowed to audition because of their parents, including a teenage Jamie Lee Curtis, Blair's family wasn't bothered by the subject material.
I'm a Christian, and in my religion, we never discussed the devil. So to me, it was a fictitious character like people think of Frankenstein.
For a while, Pazuzu
Fair? I mean, wow. Imagine if Jamie Lee Curtis thought back to that and be like, I wonder what my life would have been like if I actually got that Exorcist role. Didn't even know she played for the role, but well, you learn, I guess. But then again, they are playing like a possessed child by Pazuzu, and well, you guys know exorcism movies nowadays. Yeesh. Not good, especially the hit turn and the spider walk. You know that. Yeesh. Yeah, you know they're gonna make their kids say bad things. You'll know. Anyway.
Keeps his powers on the low, like shaking Reagan's bed off screen and making candles go off like faulty stove burns.
Whoa.
Things start to get more intense down the street when a priest walks into a church to find the Virgin Mary way more stacked now. For real though, as someone who grew up Catholic, this is a disturbing sight, and I love the way it's revealed. You see the statue's face in the foreground when the priest first enters, and then watch him from basically the statue's POV, just waiting for him to eventually look in this direction and discover the desecration. Unsurprisingly, The Exorcist got negative press from several religious groups, including influential Christian evangelist Billy Graham, who said it was tainted by the devil himself. It probably didn't help that Studio Warner Brothers was headquartered at 666 Fifth Avenue in New York. Linda Blair would become a lightning rod for much of the criticism, with Graham accusing her of glorifying Satan. Real cool, dude. Blair received so many death threats, the studio hired a bodyguard to keep her safe.
It was so controversial, so of course I am at the very pinnacle of all of that. So it all became my fault.
Chris has seen Father Karras around town a few times and brings him up at one of her swanky cocktail parties. She gets the lowdown from another Jesuit priest, Father Dyer.
He's our psychiatric counselor.
Dyer also breaks the bad news. Karras' mother died in the hospital. It happened completely off screen, but since we knew her well, we'll put her on the count. The night gets worse for Chris thanks to her drunken director, Burke Dennings. Dude stumbles around calling her housekeeper a Nazi and trying to fight him. Man, this guy's the worst drunk ever. The night is completely spoiled when Reagan comes down to join the party. Party,
because
Damn, what is wrong with this girl?
You just take your pills and you'll be fine.
Well, can't argue that. Pills are good, except they might not
depending
help
on
when
the
the bed
pill.
starts
Oh,
shaking
jeez.
on screen. Calm down, though. We get these every few years.
Hold on.
Karras has a guilty nightmare since his mom died all alone. It has big ring tape vibes to it, including muffled sound designs and flashes of a face. Did you catch that? It's subliminal in an unnoticeable way. The face of Captain Howdy is played by Eileen Dietz in makeup that took 3 hours to apply. It only appears for a couple of frames in the theatrical cut of the film, but was more prominent in a teaser trailer that was never released after test audiences allegedly puked. Yeah, that was probably from all the flashing lights, y'all. Doctors are consulted to cure Reagan of her sudden potty breaks and sudden potty mouth.
Fucking bastard!
They think a brain lesion might be causing her strange behavior.
I really don't understand how her whole personality could change.
Well, let me tell you a story about a man named Phineas Gage. They run tests that are difficult to watch just because of how real they're shot. Anyone who's had medical procedures done can feel the sharp pains Reagan's experiencing. In fact, these medical scenes caused more walkouts than any of the film's blasphemy.
Really?
Do you remember what caused you to faint?
Well, they started that spinal tap or whatever, so.
But even the sight of blood shooting out of a 12-year-old's neck isn't the scariest thing in this scene.
Regan, I'm just gonna move you down at the table, okay?
That technician is played by Paul Bateson, a real radiographer who would be convicted of murder 6 years after this was filmed. His further suspected crimes in the Manhattan bag murders targeting gay men would inspire William Friedkin to adapt the novel Cruising in 1980. Reagan returns home, but the next house call she gets ends with some intense body rocking and a diagnosis of dead-eyed eyes. This whiplashing required Blair to be braced into a metal harness and manually yanked around. She was eventually injured when the lacing on the harness came loose.
That's the footage they use in the movie where I'm crying my eyes out because they are brutally damaging my back.
It's one of many mishaps that make up The Exorcist's supposedly cursed production, which saw several injuries and deaths over the course of 15 months.
There were 9 deaths.
Wait, what?
Which is an enormous amount of deaths.
On top of that, the set mysteriously burned down one weekend when no one was there.
They couldn't find any substantial reason that occurred.
You can hear more details about these set stories on this movie's episode of Production Tales from Hell, the newest Dead Meat series written and hosted by Chauncey K. Robinson. The somatic scientist has officially thrown the towel.
I think it's time we started looking for a psychiatrist.
Unfortunately for him, when the psychiatrist tries to talk to Reagan, she grabs his balls so hard it turns into a music video as he falls to the floor. In fact, they had to build a new camera rig just to capture his agony. It was one of many invisibly challenging setups in the film, none more elaborate than the swing set needed to smoothly follow characters upstairs 2 years before the invention of the Steadicam. With Reagan's lips getting ever more chapped, the doctors pitch a new suggestion.
You ever heard of exorcism?
Before Chris can figure out if those are covered under her SAG health insurance, she gets some news about her drunk director.
Burke's dead.
While she was out, Burke Dennings stopped by and wound up falling out of Reagan's window. He died after further falling down the massive set of concrete steps inconveniently located outside. As originally scripted, this emotional moment would have been ruined by one of the film's goofiest scares. The effects didn't work as well as they'd hoped, so the infamous spider walk was nixed. I agree with that decision. I mean, her little tongue flicks look so damn silly. It was put back in for a re-edit done in 2000 called The Version You've Never Seen. Friedkin oversaw those changes to appease his buddy Blatty, who resented the cuts he made at the studio's suggestion.
And for a long time, he didn't even speak to me. But whenever he did speak to me, he would say, "Billy, you've cut the heart and soul out of the movie." And I would say, "Bill, you're a sore winner."
Not sure if I'll ever have the time for another cut comparison, but if it happens, it'll be on our new channel, Dead Meat Presents. So subscribe to that if you don't want to miss it. Since the haunting has gone homicidal, Father Karras...
I mean, to be fair, we had like 3 deaths here. well, movie-wise. You know, the psychiatrist, the bomb. I think sorry, I'm trying to, like, remember. I think it was either just the doctor and the... Well, I know there was the director and the mom. I don't remember if there was a third, but damn. Yeesh, yeah, and even during, like, those scenes, I'm like, uh-oh. Yeah, I almost grabbing my neck here, like, nuh-uh. Like, I don't know if this is, like, if they used anesthesia, but yikes. Ugh. Yeah, I think even I would have walked out of there. Like, yikes. I don't know if I'm just laughing because I'm just nervous or what's going on. Ugh. Sorry, I'm just slide myself forward. Let's move on.
Gets a visit from Lieutenant William Kinderman. The cop wants him to tattle on any troubled clergy who might be responsible. He tries to warm him up with compliments.
Yeah, it's true. You do look like a boxer. Like John Garfield, in body and soul.
Hey, you know what? Yeah, I can see that.
Sir.
Do people tell you look like Paul Newman?
That one, not so much.
Close.
Kinderman tells Karras one detail the newspapers didn't have about how they found Burke's body.
With his head turned completely around.
But even with the gruesome deets, Karras says he can't betray his father-father confidentiality. You can see Kinderman's respect for Karras, and he's a downright sweetheart when he goes to talk to Chris. I love the way he reasons with her about the peculiarities of Burke's death, and how he asks for her autograph on his way out. Kinderman is a welcome addition to the film, giving us some well-acted one-on-one character scenes. I wish the first act had more of those. I wish that Kinderman had more of a role. He's just kind of a side guy on his own little adventure throughout the movie. Actor Lee J. Cobb died just a few years after this movie's release. But the World War II vet left behind a hugely impressive body of work, including On the Waterfront and 12 Angry Men. After Kinderman leaves, the movie rockets into crazy town. Chris walks in to find Reagan's bedroom making a mess of itself, and Reagan making a mess of herself with a crucifix in a scene that's still shocking even by modern standards. It gets even grosser when Reagan bloodies her mom's face, then slaps her and tosses her across the room. The intense scene boils over as furniture blocks off help and straight up attacks Chris. It reaches a fever pitch when Reagan's head turns completely around and speaks with the dead Burke's voice.
Do you know what she did? Your daughter?
For the crucifix bit, the teenage Linda Blair had no idea what she was doing.
I didn't understand what masturbation was at that age.
She was shielded from the worst shots thanks to Pazuzu face model Eileen Dietz, who played Reagan in scenes that weren't suitable for Blair due to her age. It's Dietz during the close-ups in the crucifix scene. She'd also stand in for Blair during the hours it took to set up lighting and effects. But Blair did have to do some of this scene herself, stabbing a crucifix into a sponge attached to a box by her crotch. Like the rest of her performance, Friedkin coached her through it without condescending tricks.
He never ever once tried to do something to intentionally hurt
Well, at least he's good with the kids. The adults, good luck.
Seems like he was mostly good to her. The worst he would do is threaten to take away her favorite on-set treat.
If you don't say that, Linda, you're not gonna have your milkshake.
He definitely treated her better than he did Ellen Burstyn, whose cry of pain in this scene is infamously real. Burstyn permanently injured her coccyx here thanks to Friedkin being a little asshole.
I said, Billy, he's pulling me too hard. I can get hurt.
And he got hurt.
And Billy said, well, it has to look real.
Friedkin denied that she was injured, and I don't think ever apologized for it. I know sometimes directors can be hard on their cast and crew to achieve the vision they want, but unsafe behavior like that is never okay for a movie. Finally, the awesome practical effects of the room freaking out and the furniture attacks were done by effects artist Marcel Vercouture. He used piano wire to make the furniture move and flung objects around using a chute and compressed air tanks. Man, this looks like fun to do. After the insanity of that scene, Chris is fully on board with the exorcism plan. She asks Father Karras to do the honors, but he only agrees to see Reagan as a psychiatrist, thinking it's a mental health issue. The child formerly known as Reagan tries to taunt him by saying his mother's in hell, so Karras counters with a little pop quiz, asking her for his mother's maiden name.
What is it?
No, not that.
Password recovery question like that.
Also,
that vomit
was
was
that?
actually porridge with pea soup coloring that was pumped out of a tube hidden by makeup. Dietz once again stepped in to test the apparatus and film some shots with it. The puke was only supposed to hit Miller's chest, but a happy accident caused the first take to be the best take.
Maybe my vomit is getting a little cold. So I raised up trajectory a little bit, and I maybe cranked on a little bit. And anyway, when I let go, I hit Jason flush in the face.
Reagan claims she's
mouth
the
too,
devil,
apparently,
and suggests Karras perform a spectacular procedure.
What an excellent day for an exorcism.
To goad him into it, she does stuff like opening drawers by herself, but still refuses to engage in the father's tests.
Do it again. In time. No, now.
We'll see.
In time.
Friedkin said he wanted Reagan's possessed voice to sound like a Hieronymus Bosch painting. Sound engineer Chris Newman took on the challenge and spent 150 hours modifying Blair's voice, only to find out the director didn't like it.
Oh, ouch. 150 hours of work just out the window.
Wanting a voice that was neither male nor female, they recruited actress Mercedes McCambridge to record the lines after chain smoking and consuming raw eggs and whiskey. Then they added animal and bug noises, which were used throughout the film to create unease. The overall sound mix took 16 whole weeks. Reagan starts apparently speaking in tongues, a telltale sign of possession, but it ends up being a false alarm. A recording of it reveals it's only English in reverse. I mean, that's still impressive to me. But between that fakery and an overly dramatic reaction to non-holy water, Karras is filled with so much doubt, he momentarily becomes the most miserable looking human in recorded history. What brings him back is a direct message from Reagan's tummy. Feed me! Oh, sorry.
Wait, hold up. There you go.
He consults the Jesuit leaders, and by order of decree, he's given the go-ahead to perform an exorcism. The university president is played by one of the film's technical advisors, Father Tom Birmingham, who actually taught writer Blatty in high school. Father Dyer was also played by a real priest, Father William O'Malley, who met Blatty after criticizing the novel for its cliche depiction of the clergy. The film's success resulted in them receiving genuine requests for exorcisms.
I was getting calls from all over the place. I mean, people wanted me to exorcise their daughters, exorcise their cat, exorcise their house.
O'Malley passed away last year, but not before being accused of sexual abuse by a former student in the 80s. Now who's a stereotype of the clergy? The spiritual leaders...
Yeah. Oh, I swear, you can't go one day with... mention the clergy without a sexual, misconduct charge. I swear. I still remember there was, this Boston church. I don't remember the name of the documentary on Netflix. It was about this, nun that disappeared that was about to report, some, horrible abuse going on. I don't remember. Jeez. It was, a Boston nun or something. It's sorry. I'm, looking this up because, like I said, this thing's just gonna bug me until I figure it out. Kestrine Keswick, okay. Oh wait, is that it? The Keepers. Oh, okay, the Keepers. There we go. Okay, so the documentary is called The Keepers. So, want to hear more about that story? Look it up. But yikes! Can you imagine if you actually did believe that they were possessed because of The Exorcist? Because, yeesh, I'd be a little worried there. Hey, moving along.
Determined Karras needs some supervision.
How about Lancaster Marin?
Hell yeah! We've got less than a half hour left in the movie, but we're breaking out the big guns. Father Marin, he of the mood piece opening. They track him down as he's walking around looking like Einstein in Oppenheimer. Just needs James Urbaniak next to him. When he arrives at the McNeil home, it's in an absolutely iconic shot that would be used for posters and box art, captivating many a young video store browser in the horror section. This now iconic image of a door-to-door salesman came from Friedkin, who was inspired by the Magritte painting, The Empire of Light 2. Marin gets inside and everybody welcomes him. Reagan most enthusiastically of all. They suit up for Holy War as Marin warns Karras that Reagan is possessed by a demon who will engage in psychic warfare, which for Karras is probably gonna mean yo mama jokes.
Your mother sucks cocks in hell.
Hey, he warned you. Father Marin is played by the late great Swedish actor Max von Sydow, who was only 44 at the time. But Friedkin insisted on the Seventh Seal actor, so he underwent hours of aging makeup by Dick Smith. Smith also provided Reagan's late-stage possession makeup after testing 6 different looks, including a werewolfy one. The final look included painted teeth, a fake tongue made from a cast of Blair's real one, and uncomfortable contact lenses requiring the use of anesthetizing eye drops. To prep for the role, von Sydow spent a few months with a Jesuit priest. Like Blair, he wasn't bothered by the movie's religious content.
To me, the devil has never been scary. I was brought up with Scandinavian fairy tales and folk tales, and in many of those, the devil is kind of ridiculous. He's always a loser.
The rest of this final showdown was daunting for everyone to shoot. While exteriors were shot on location in Georgetown, the interior of the house was filmed on a set in New York to accommodate the effects-heavy climax. It required 3 different bed rigs for special effects, 8 pneumatic wheels to shake the set in its entirety, and intense refrigeration so we could see the actor's breath, something that nowadays would just be done with CG. But they didn't have that option back then, so the walls of the bedroom set were insulated with 8 inches of fiberglass. That allowed 4 massive ACs to cool the room overnight to temperatures down to 40 degrees below zero.
Was it cold? Yes. Did I like it?
No.
Not much.
Those temperatures were particularly brutal for Blair due to her costume.
Me, I got, long underwear and a nightgown. Lucky me.
It took them 60 days to film in the cold room, since they could only shoot for an hour at a time before the heat from the lights warmed it up again. The demon child starts spitting like a Dilophosaurus and barking like Molly when we get a delivery.
Clutches of the noonday devil, this human being.
Marin puts Karis on laundry detail while he tries to save this apartment security deposit. They seem to be losing the battle, since signing the cross only makes Reagan visit the world's worst invisible chiropractor again. For the head-spinning effect, they built an animatronic Linda Blair that the real one
sounds
had to
about
share
right,
a makeup trailer with.
I didn't enjoy the experience of being in its presence.
Can't blame him.
The animatronic's head and torso were made of rigid plastic, housing a ton of machinery that allowed its eyes to be remote controlled separately, which didn't always work. Reagan starts sleeping 4 feet above her covers, so Team God has to break out the heavy artillery. They continue their ceremonial assault with the power of repetition.
The power of Christ compels you! The power of Christ compels you!
No, seriously, they repeat this phrase a lot.
The power of Christ compels you! The power of Christ compels you!
They end up sounding like the end of a police song. This practical levitation was achieved with a simple but cool technique. Blair was held up with wires that were hand-painted with dotted lines, which allowed them to blend in with the lighting no matter how it changed.
Anything that's dark against light, you'll see. Anything light against dark, you'll see. But when it's broken up with light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, you can get away with a lot with the background.
The chanting does the trick and lowers Reagan back to her bed, but the priests are still no match for an old-fashioned sucker punch. When the Pazuzu statue comes back for a cameo, Marin decides to take a breather and give himself another chill pill. Karis ignores his warnings and goes back in alone, where he sees and hears his dead mom instead of Reagan.
Dime.
Before Mommy Fearist can break the new guy, Marin returns and kicks Karis out of the room again. Go consult Reagan's mom, dude. I don't know, try to be comforting or some shit.
Is she gonna die?
No.
Close enough. By the time Karis comes to check on Marin's prayer-a-thon, it's too late. Father Marin's heart has finally given out, and no amount of violent chest punching is going to bring him back. Reagan giggles her possessed ass off, so Karis unleashes his boxing skills on a literal child. Between right hooks, he convinces the demon his devout body is the better trophy to take. I love the shot of his face transforming as Captain Howdy takes control. Pazuzu makes sure Karis gets his steps in as the two of them go on a little trip together. Actually, a big trip. Given the height of this staircase, which either has 97 or 75 steps, I can't confirm either way, production couldn't fake the flight on a soundstage, so stuntman Chuck Waters took the fall for real.
I asked him how he did it. He said Zen. This was that. He said complete and total non-resistance.
Vercatur covered each of the steps with a half-inch of rubber for his protection. Despite looking like he fell on a water balloon filled with pizza sauce, Karis is still alive enough for Dyer to read him his last rites.
Do you want to make a confession?
Just not alive enough for him to respond. To get Dyer properly emotional, Friedkin directed the non-actor with his usual finesse.
He belted me right across the chops.
The director obviously took extreme measures, even firing guns on set to get reactions from the actors, but his cast seems to speak of him in mostly positive terms, out of respect for achieving his vision for the film.
I love him.
Fair, but
he's
still.
a maniac.
Also, stop typing right now with your comment about me missing this kill. We'll see in the third movie
again,
that
third
Karis
one's still alive.
technically
Sorry.
survived. Sometime later, the McNeils are ready to McPeel out of this place. Thankfully, Reagan isn't scarred by the experience.
She doesn't remember any of it.
Father Dyer sees them off, and the movie ends with him remembering to always hold on to the railing. How many kills did this demon rack up while possessing a preteen? Let's find out and get to the
numbers.
Numbers.
You good?
Whew.
Okay.
Counting kills will give you such a
crick in the neck. Genie.
3 people died in The Exorcist, with 2 of them completely off screen. The victims included 2 men and 1 woman, giving us this pie chart, and a count/gender breakdown we've seen in 6 other movies on this show. 5 of them good ones. You're the outlier, Dream Child. With a runtime of 122 minutes, The Exorcist had a kill on average every 40.67 minutes. Golden Chainsaw for coolest kill goes to, no one. All these kills were boring. But this once again makes clear that a horror movie isn't defined by its kills. Dull Machete for lamest kill goes to Burke Dennings, because honestly, I don't buy the whole window to staircase thing. Look at this shot. Look at the distance there. That is way too much distance to cover. And that's it. The Exorcist came out the day after Christmas in 1973. Despite a small opening, word of mouth spread quickly thanks to the audience's physical reactions.
I was just ready to
Definitely a
pass
viral
out.
movie if you've
It's
ever seen it.
disgusting.
Theaters reportedly kept smelling salts and barf bags on hand. It would end up being Warner Brothers' highest grossing film, and adjusted for inflation, it's still in the top 10 for highest movie grosses of all time. With that kind of success, a sequel was inevitable, which I'll be looking at next
Here comes
week.
there.
Till then, I'm James A. Janice. This has been the Kill Count.
On the next Kill Count.
The power of the studio compels you to return to the world of The Exorcist. De Niro. Exorcist 2: The Heretic is a film no one wanted to make, continuing a story no one wanted to see continue.
No one in the church wants to hear about the devil. Satan has become an embarrassment to our progressive views.
And yet it defied all odds and was unleashed like a plague onto theaters.
There's nothing wrong with me.
You sure about that, Exorcist 2? Because you're usually included on lists of worst movies ever made. Now listen, I love watching Max von Sydow wander around Planet of the Apes sets.
I'm just wasting your time.
And Linda Blair is great. This thing is way worse without her efforts.
Please don't drug me.
I won't, Linda. But all the psychic brain synchronizer crap and the extended tap dancing scenes are just a little hard to swallow.
Let's stick to science.
At least James Earl Jones is here.
If Pazuzu comes for you, I will spit a leper.
Wait, what, dude?
Spit a leper?
Ah! God! This week, watch Pazuzu terrorize people by sounding like a feral chihuahua. And on Friday, dance on down for the Kill Count. Only on Dead Meat.
It was horrible.
Every
Utterly
sense of the
horrible.
world.
And fascinating.
Exorcist 2:
Oh, yeah,
The Heretic.
fascinating.
Currently.
Yeah, that does sound about right for the film. Oh boy. Yeah, this is gonna be interesting, so yeah, I'll see you when that comes out next week. Till then, thanks for watching. Adios.